Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, I'm going to be previewing the second round. Crazy, we're already at the second round, but I'm going to preview it today. Originally, I was going to do this, make a separate video for each series, but I thought since now 3 of the 4 first round series and almost all the first round series are going to be like over with, and the second rounds are going to be, we already know who's going to play each other. Why not do it all here in one video? Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. Link to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that, description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we'll start with Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, the battle of the 2 and the 3 seed. The series that we've known is going to happen for like a while. It's been like a few days, dang near a week. And yeah, this is going to be an amazing. This is going to be, well, from looking at it from before the second round starts, this looks like it's going to be the best matchup of the second round. I mean, these two teams are going to be going at it. Minnesota, obviously, they swept the Phoenix Suns. Denver took the Lakers out in 5. And yeah, this is going to be a really exciting matchup. Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting matchup. The Timberwolves have been playing amazing basketball so far to start the playoffs. Anthony Edwards has been one of the best players. If not, you can make argument he has been the best player so far in this playoffs. Everybody's on one page. It feels like for Minnesota. Rudy Gobert defensively. Anthony Towns been doing really good things. Mike Conley's had some his moments. Jaden McDaniels. They have the bench. Naz Reid, Nikhil Alexander-Walker both have been playing really good. Kyle Anderson could come in and give some good minutes as well. It feels like Minnesota's just all on one page. Defensively they're locked in, and then offensively they're making things work around Anthony Edwards. Meanwhile, for Denver, of course, to the reigning champs, they took out the Lakers in 5. Showed a lot of fight and heart. They are the reigning champs. They have not looked the sharpest so far throughout the playoffs. They have not gone off to great starts. The Lakers have had a lead at halftime in every game of that series, which shows how great the Nuggets are because they can come back from that every game. But the Nuggets have not been as sharp as they usually are. Jamal Murray has not been shooting the ball super well. KCP's three-pointer isn't really falling too much. But Michael Porter Jr. just came off an insane series against the Lakers. He's been shooting the ball super well. We already know about Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray, even though he has not been shooting the ball well, can still hit the clutch shots, and when you need him in the fourth quarter, he's going to show up. I think it's going to be a very interesting battle. I think the battle between Anthony Edwards and Jamal Murray in terms of like clutch shots and who's going to step up in the fourth quarter, that's going to be a very interesting battle as well. The defensive battle of Rudy Gobert and Nikola Jokic is going to be a good one as well, seeing how the Timberwolves can kind of react to the size of the Nuggets because the Suns were not a big team. I mean, they kept running Kevin Durant at the 4. Sometimes they put Kevin Durant at the 5. So, I mean, the Timberwolves didn't have to face a big team. Now they have to face a bigger team. And Nikola Jokic, obviously. Aaron Gordon, even though he's only like 6'8", he plays big, and he's going to be around the rim at all times. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Timberwolves react to that size, you know. And it's going to be interesting to see how well the Timberwolves can match up. Because honestly, I think before the playoffs started, if you would have asked me, I would have been like, yeah, Denver's probably got this series. Minnesota can make it a little interesting. But after seeing Minnesota, the way they played in that first round series against Phoenix, man, the Timberwolves have a really good shot in this series, I feel like. If they're locked in defensively, they can do it, And I think something I like that Timberwolves have is the bench. Denver's bench, I mean, Reggie Jackson has some decent moments. Christian Brown and Peyton Watson are going to do some solid things. But when you have the sixth man of the year, Naz Reid, you have Nikhil Alexander Walker come in and hit 3 or 4 threes in a game, you know, like that's a big game changer, when you have that. So I think Minnesota having the depth is going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, I think the defensive matchups is going to be solid. I think it's going to be a real battle of, what is going to prevail, offense or defense. Even though Denver has been a very solid defense this season, and Minnesota has had their good moments on offense, especially so far in the playoffs. It's going to be a real battle of like a hardworking elite defense versus a well-oiled machine offense. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. I know Minnesota's going to be up for the challenge, but I know Denver's thinking in their heads like, hey, we have not been the best so far, so we got to really, work things out. I think X factors in this series. I think for Denver, I think it's got to be Aaron Gordon to help combat the size. Of course, Minnesota has the size, the twin towers of Rudy and Cat. We know Jokic is going to be there. I think Aaron Gordon is going to be a big factor in this series. someone that can do a little bit of everything, could kind of maybe pull Cat out on the perimeter a little bit more, but also get into the interior and try to work from there. We know what he does about his rebounding. Minnesota's been a dominant rebounding team. So Aaron Gordon getting in on the rebounding, especially on the offensive boards like he did against the Lakers, is going to be big. And then for Minnesota, I think my X factor for Minnesota, I think it's Karl Anthony Towns. It's the force for both teams. We already know what Anthony Edwards is going to come with. Rudy Gobert is going to be solid. I think of Karl Anthony Towns, when you look at in the first round, his numbers weren't amazing, because he was in foul trouble, two, he's coming off the injury. But now I think with a little bit more reps in, if he could be a 20-point scorer or something in this series, I think it's going to prove huge because we already know at Minnesota's defense, they're going to be locked in. Even the Nuggets are a hard team to stop. I think if you can get Karl Anthony Towns going and have him have some big games in this series, I think that could be huge. So my prediction ultimately is really, really tough, honestly, because again, at first I would have said, but now after seeing what Minnesota played and how they match up, it's gonna be a really good series. I'm gonna go Denver. I'm gonna go Denver in seven. I'm going Denver in seven, man. I just think this is gonna be an epic series right here. Next, we're gonna go Knicks Pacers series. We found out a couple days ago is gonna happen. Battle in the Eastern Conference, the 2 seed versus the 6 seed. The Knicks just came off an insane first round series against Philadelphia 76ers. The Pacers coming off upsetting the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games. This is going to be a very interesting contrast of styles. The Knicks are more of a gritty, defensive oriented. We're just gonna out physical you. We're gonna just outwork you, fight you, and that's how we're gonna win games. Well, Indiana is a team that we know we're gonna just push the pace. We're gonna run, 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 try to outscore you. You know, so it's just gonna be this is gonna be a very interesting contrast of styles of like the kind of old, I guess, old school quote unquote basketball and new age basketball kind of colliding here. It's gonna be a very interesting one. Knicks Pacers. I think the guards in both these series are gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to see how both guards are being guarded. How the Pacers are gonna guard Jalen Brunson. It's gonna be very interesting. I assume Andrew Nemhard's gonna get the assignment as well, just like he did against Damian Lillard, which he did a pretty solid job at. So having Jalen Brunson now, though, a guy that doesn't rely on the three ball as much as Dame, a guy that likes to get into the paint, while the Pacers gave up the most paint points. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they guard Jalen Brunson in terms of that regard. I think the rebounding is going to be big for the Knicks as well. With the Pacers, our team, trying to go get rebounds, trying to get rebounds and push the pace and trying to turn the ball over. The Knicks have to get in on the rebounds. If they could do like they did against the 76ers in that series, I think they'll be really fine. For Indiana, I really think it's going to have to be just trying to force Knicks to play uncomfortable, force the Knicks to try to outscore you. I think it's going to be the thing. And which is, again, easier said than done because the Knicks are a really good defense. But I think it's really going to have to come down to, forcing the Knicks to play a different game. Kind of like what they did against Milwaukee. Milwaukee, there's a lot of times where Milwaukee tried to speed up and try to play faster than they usually do. And the Pacers usually, it worked out for Indiana. So Indiana, I think the real goal is to try to make the Knicks play a different style of ball. Try to make the Knicks have to play with pace. Try to make the Knicks play fast, and score a bunch of points and shoot a lot of threes. I think that's what the game plan is for Indiana because again, the Knicks are a team that doesn't mind having a 94 to 91 type gritty, like, physical type of performance. The Knicks play like that. They like playing those ugly situations. Indiana hasn't really been involved in those situations. So I think the Knicks playing their style of ball and forcing Indiana to try to play half court offense is going to be interesting if they could keep scoring and keep, getting back in transition. Having Indiana, we've seen this series having Indiana trying to play in a half court type of scenario. That's not what they want to do. They want to play fast. They want to play, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So yeah, trying to put them in a half court scenario is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see OG versus Pascal, the matchup, especially with Pascal. He had an amazing first couple games and he kind of, you know, tailed off a little bit at the end. Bobby Portis playing good defense. Now OG Anunoby's gonna be there. So that's gonna take a lot out of their half court offense as well, which is why the Knicks should really desperately be trying to play in the half court against Indiana, force them to play in the half court offense because they have OG Anunoby, a guy who can guard Pascal Siakam pretty solid. So I think Pascal Siakam's really like their guy when he get in the half court, the ball most of the time going to Pascal Siakam, and he's gonna make something out of it. Now you got OG on him, it's gonna be a lot tougher. They're gonna need their other guys to step up. So yeah, I think some X factors. I think for the Knicks, it is OG Anunoby. If he can lock in on Pascal Siakam and he can like really force Siakam to be not be as efficient as he has been and force Indiana to have to go somewhere else with their half court offense, I think that's a huge win. you know. And I think for the Indiana Pacers, I think their, X factor, I think it's got to be Tyrese. Like it's tough to say. It's really crazy to say that your star player has to be, but Tyrese Halliburton has to be aggressive in this series. Because you're gonna have the other point guard on the other end, Jalen Brunson, going for 30 and 40 potentially in this series. Tyrese Halliburton, I'm not saying he has to go get 40, but Tyrese Halliburton has to be effective and efficient and aggressive in scoring. Not don't give Jalen Brunson a break on the defensive end. If they put Jalen Brunson on, they might put Dante DiVincenzo on Tyrese. Now I'm thinking about it. They put Jalen Brunson on Andrew Nemhard, but I think the guards in general for Indiana, Tyrese and Andrew Nemhard, I think both have to be aggressive. They both have to kind of make the guards work on the defensive end and try to be aggressive in that sense. Ultimately, I'm gonna go with the New York Knicks. In 5 or 6, I don't really know what to pick yet. I'll go 5. I'll go 5 for New York. I'm not saying it's gonna be an easy 5, but I don't know. I just think the Knicks are really gonna like play their game against Indiana. I think after coming out of that series against the 76ers, I think they have all the confidence in the world being like, we just beat them in 6 games in that fashion. It's gonna be hard for us not to win. And I don't know, I think they're gonna come in, they're gonna try to put it on Indiana, to try to get to a conference final. And I think they're gonna try everything in their power to make Tyrese and Pascal uncomfortable and force everybody else to kind of beat them. I think I can see that game plan with the Knicks, so I'm gonna go with the Knicks in 5. Next series we got back in the Western Conference, OKC versus Dallas. We just learned yesterday after Dallas beat the Clippers. This is going to be the second round series. By the way, the Western Conference, these second round matchups, both of them are going to be just absolutely amazing. I'm going to love both of these matchups. They're going to be so, so fun to watch. This one, OKC versus Dallas, this is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a fun one. Both these teams are kind of similar in ways. They have the star, you have Shea, Luca, MVP type players. You got Kyrie, for Dallas, is their number 2. OKC, you got J Dub, I guess. I'm not comparing J Dub to Kyrie Irving. I'm just saying, they have the second guy that if their first star player is on the bench or not doing much, have their second guy come in and do their thing. You know, um, Now Dallas doesn't really have a Chet Holmgren. That could be an X factor over there, but they do have PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, who have been amazing on both ends as well. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Dallas has kind of transformed themselves into being this kind of defensive oriented team, a team that's willing to get, down in a defensive stance, willing to, get ugly in situations and like try to outwork you. They become that type of team, and they're taking their defense and leading it into their offense. Where, by the way, they have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, two guys that can drop 40 whenever they want to. Add in the center play with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively that can throw lobs, PJ Washington hitting threes, and it's gonna be tough. But OKC though, OKC is they've been a top seed for a reason. They got Shea, obviously can get 30 in his sleep. J Dub has been really good as well. Chet Holmgren on the defensive end especially has been absolutely amazing. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the centers get Gafford and Lively play with Chet Holmgren out there on the court. I think that the 3-point shooting has been there. They got guys like Lou Dort has been shooting the ball well. Isaiah Joe is a sniper off the bench. This is gonna be a very good series. This is gonna be a very, very good series, man. I'm really excited for it. Luca versus Lou Dort. That's gonna be an interesting matchup. Of course, Lou Dort being one of the best perimeter defenders, and Luca obviously being Luka Doncic. That's gonna be a very, very interesting matchup because Luca hasn't really had his game yet. Luca has good numbers and stuff, but in that Clipper series, he never really had like a big 40-point explosion like I thought it was gonna come eventually. He didn't really shoot the ball efficiently, especially from 3. And now you got Lou Dort on you. It's gonna be a lot tougher. But it's still gonna be Luka Doncic. So Lou Dort's still gonna have his hands full as well. Interested to see who guards Shea in this series. I'm assuming it's probably gonna be Derrick Jones Jr. potentially. Because yeah, unless they put is Kyrie guarding Shea? That's gonna be interesting. Or yeah, maybe you know what? They put Derrick Jones on Jalen Williams and say, you know what, Shea, we know you're Shea, do your thing, but we're not gonna let anybody else do it. Like J Dub is gonna get shut down in this series. That's an interesting thought to think about. Um, yeah, I'm thinking right now who's guarding. I guess either Derrick Jones or Luca is guarding Shea. And you probably, if Derrick Jones does guard Shea, then you probably put PJ Washington on J Dub, and then Luca guards Josh Giddey, Kyrie guards Lou Dort. I'm assuming that's what the defense matchups are gonna be, unless Kyrie Irving, who's been really locked in on the defensive end and did a really good job on James Harden. Do you put Kyrie on Shea and just say, you know what, Shea, you might mix up Kyrie, but no one else, like put Derrick Jones Jr. on J Dub, and just not let anybody else do their thing? Maybe. I don't really know. That's something for Jason Kidd to think about. Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting series. Especially with how both these teams kind of play. They both have like their star players, Shea and Luca. That's going to be a very interesting battle. Both those guys are going to have some big performances. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited for this series, man. This is going to be a really fun series. This has the potential to probably be the funnest. Like Denver, Minnesota is probably going to be the best in terms of like both those teams going at each other, the game planning and stuff. But this has the chance to probably be the most fun in terms of like a Shea 40 piece. Then we got Luca dropping 40. J Dub has 25. Kyrie has 30. Like it's gonna be like one of those type of series where it's just gonna be big performance after big performance, star players getting in their bag. Like it's gonna be so fun in that regard. I think X factors. I think for the Mavericks, it's gonna have to be the big men, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. Add in PJ Washington a little bit there as well. Of course, we know about Chet Holmgren, how he you know, defensively, he's been on another level. So I think if Daniel Gavin or Derek Lively can still try to do their thing on Chet Holmgren and try to maybe get Chet into foul trouble, or maybe try to out physical him, like Gavin and Lively can do. So that could be very interesting. And PJ Washington as well, which is another interesting thing to think about because OKC isn't a big team, so OKC doesn't really have a lot of size besides Chet Holmgren, obviously. So does Dallas maybe even flirt with going even smaller and being more comfortable going with small ball with having maybe even PJ Washington at the five, depending on how Maxi Kleber's health is? Sometimes they can go with that route. I think that's going to be interesting to see. So I think that's X factor. And then for OKC, their X factor for me, I think is like Lou Dort. I think Lou Dort can knock down threes like he did in the first round series against New Orleans, and he had a couple big threes. I feel like every game we hit like two or three threes that were just really much needed. It kind of blew the game open, and of course his defense on Luka is going to be interesting, or even on Kyrie as well. I think Dallas has OKC has good defenders. Do they even maybe try to put Lou Dort on Kyrie at some points? Just being like, you know what, Luca, you could do your thing, but we're not gonna let Kyrie get off. Kind of like similar thing to what I said earlier with OKC, Shea, and J Dub and what they're gonna guard there. It's probably not gonna happen. They're probably gonna put Lou Dort on Luca, but that's gonna be an interesting thought. But if Lou Dort can lock in defensively and try to make Luca and Kyrie's life at least a little bit uncomfortable and not have him be efficient, and then offense can knock down that three ball like that's gonna be huge. Ultimately, my prediction in this series, I'm still going back and forth on it, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I'm going Dallas in six. Dallas in six. Do I feel super confident in it? No. But it's a prediction. Who cares if I'm right or wrong? But ultimately I'm gonna go Dallas in six. But I think this is gonna be a very fun series. And so now the final second round matchup we don't know specifically yet. Cleveland and Orlando are gonna play game 7 tomorrow. But would it be in the Boston Celtics they're gonna play against? I'm kind of confident in when we say. So if they do play the Cavaliers in the second round, I'm gonna go Boston in 5. I think, or maybe even six. I don't know. I think Boston should still win the second round series, no matter who they play. Even though they do not have Kristaps Porzingis potentially for this round, they're still good enough where they should be one of these two teams. The Cavaliers have not been amazing offensively so far in this series. I mean, Donovan Mitchell put up 50, and they still lost. Offensively, they have not been great. Jared Allen, we don't know his injury status either. But I think for Cleveland, if they want to give a fight to Boston, they can use their size without Porzingis in there. I mean, they're still going to have Al Horford, Xavier Tillman, and Neemias Queta. Probably still going to get some minutes in this series. But I think if Cleveland can use their size and try to win on the glass, maybe get some offensive rebounds and stuff, I think that could be huge and maybe even be more efficient getting to the paint and scoring. I think that could be something that Cleveland can use to their own. And yeah, I think Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have to be really, really good in this series as well. You know, like I'm just thinking if Miami can win a game against Boston, Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland should be able to at least win you one. Maybe even two, depending on how the Celtics feel. Because sometimes the Celtics come out and kind of don't care as much in the Miami series, but now with Cleveland, hopefully they kind of put Cleveland away early. But yeah, ultimately, if they play the Cavaliers, I think it's gonna be Boston in 5. If they play against Orlando in the second round, I'm still gonna go Boston in 5, maybe even 4. I like Orlando. They have defense, obviously, that can match up potentially with Boston, but it's just their offense is just has been so tough to come by. Especially now, you're gonna play against the Boston Celtics. It's gonna be really hard to come by offense against them, especially on the road, because apparently on the road they cannot hit threes at all. So that's gonna be tough. Thinking about a Boston Orlando matchup, it's gonna be interesting to see. Jalen Suggs probably guards Jalen Brown, I assume, and then you put what Franz guards Tatum, because Jalen Suggs is too small for Jason Tatum. Even though Tatum does settle for a lot of fadeaways and mid ranges and stuff, but I'm assuming you probably put Jalen Suggs on Jalen Brown, try to limit him, and then you put Franz on Jason Tatum, or do you go depending on Gary Harris' health? Because with Gary Harris out yesterday, they put John Isaac in that line. So maybe you keep that and go big and just go all defense. Put John Isaac in the starting lineup and put him on Tatum. Maybe. It's just something to think about. Or you put Franz on Tatum. So like it's an interesting thing to think about, you know. But ultimately, yeah. And then for Boston, who guards Paolo? Drew Holiday. I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Holiday guards Paolo. But yeah, I think if they play Orlando, it's probably gonna be a 5 or 4 game series. I'm just thinking if Miami can win a game against Boston, they did hit 23 threes, but they won a game. Orlando, Paolo can have a 30-point game. Franz Wagner can have a 30-point game at one point. You know, same thing with Cleveland. If Miami can win a game off of them, Donovan Mitchell can have a 40 ball, you know, and win a game against them. Who knows? But ultimately, at the end of the day, whoever gets to the second round out of this Cleveland Orlando series, they're gonna lose to Boston. So that's why I'm comfortable making this video, because Boston's gonna be whoever comes out most likely, you know. But yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your predictions for this round down low in the comments. And yeah, once again, if you enjoyed the content, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.